What's happening between China and Taiwan is the consequences of some actions that were taken years ago. To shed light on this issue in today's video, we will talk about rising tension between China and Taiwan over the past decade. So, let's get started. China has been increasing military pressure on Taiwan in recent days and is sending nearly 150 warplanes to the island, which it sees as a separatist province. Taiwan's defense minister told legislators that tensions had been the most severe in more than 40 years since he joined the military. China's actions have drawn criticism from the United States and other countries. Taiwan's defense minister told legislators on Wednesday that escalating tensions between China and Taiwan are the most severe in more than 40 years since joining the military. China's actions drew criticism from the United States and other nations. There is a deep story and a newer one, but variations of the same theme. In China's view, Taiwan was illegitimately lost as part of China's sovereign territory, and the events were seen as moments of national humiliation. At the end of the 19th century, the Qing dynasty officially ceded Taiwan to Japan, and Taiwan was a Japanese colony for nearly 50 years. The Chinese Civil War broke out at the end of World War II. Nationalists were forced to retreat to Taiwan when the Communists gained control over the mainland. Therefore, according to China, Taiwan's secession results from a civil war that never quite ends. In this view, it's as if the United States were trying to reclaim South Carolina if we had never taken it back in our own civil war. In fact, former Chinese Prime Minister Wen Jiabao has compared the Taiwan issue to how the United States thrives. He saw the Civil War under Lincoln. The argument is that control of Taiwan was lost through a colonial invasion by Japan and remained untouched under the current regime in Taiwan as a product of an unfinished civil war in China. Worry works on two levels. Beijing has long claimed sovereignty over Taiwan and has long said it reserves the right to use force to achieve national reunification as it has defined itself. Concerns have risen in part because China's current president, Xi Jinping, has linked Taiwan's recovery to high-priority national rejuvenation projects and fulfilling the Chinese dream. The worry is that taking Taiwan may be more short-term than before, and Mr. Jinping sees saving Taiwan as an old move, just as saving Hong Kong for Chinese Deng Xiaoping is an old move. Leader in the 80s, when the agreement to extradite Hong Kong was signed with the UK. China's primary goal remains unchanged: reunification, as it is known in China, ideally by peaceful means, but always with the option of employing force. Recent events have given rise to the idea that China is becoming less patient and more forceful. While Mr. Jinping continues to insist on the reunification concept of one nation, two systems, his stance has grown more rigid and less flexible. The attraction of this paradigm has never been strong in Taiwan, but it has been shattered by Beijing's imposition of a far-reaching national legislation as Hong Kong advances through the phase that started in 2019 with mounting tensions over a bill that would enable extradition. Hong Kong's security legislation and the abolition of Hong Kong's limited democracy. Hong Kong and Taiwan would be quite different from each other. What occurred in Hong Kong should make any reasonably objective observer concerned about what Taiwan might look like if it followed suit. The third lesson from Hong Kong is that civil liberties and democratic rights are not only unresolved, but also significantly less established than promised. It also seems to emphasize that when a formerly autonomous region returns to Chinese control, its people and leaders lose their trump card. Democrats in the United Kingdom, the United States, and Hong Kong rallied against China's activities, claiming that they were in violation of Beijing's pledges and international legal obligations. But this had no influence on Beijing's conduct. We also saw the usage of several tools. There used to be largely warplanes and a few bombers, but today there are more bombers and support aircraft. The kind of mount that can only be beneficial in an assault in a manner that warplanes can't. Do China's actions portend an impending attack? Most likely not, but they are steps aimed at undermining Taiwan's trust and might be used as a form of coercion in the event of an assault and subsequent invasion. Such actions are often more qualitatively dangerous than flights that indicate. Taiwan is deploying military aircraft to its area of influence. They are also under pressure to mobilize their own planes and pursue, discourage, and demonstrate resolve. This is quite exhausting for Taiwanese personnel. In comparison to China, Taiwan has a small air force, and the frequent scrambling is damaging equipment, taxing pilots, and decreasing capabilities. The majority of China's planes now go to the island's eastern side, conveying a message that Taiwan doesn't have to worry about cross-strait attacks from mainland China alone. It also warns Taiwan that it must be concerned about a siege from the other side. This is a much more difficult task for Taiwan, and anyone who can help it. Those in Beijing are too pro-independence and do not share China's perspective on the nature of the cross-strait relationship. On cross-strait matters, Tsai has been a remarkable and constant moderator. Pushing the envelope with a full-fledged formal declaration of independence is not a danger Beijing should take extra precautions to avoid. During Tsai's presidency, the United States boosted its support for Taiwan, particularly in response to Beijing's increasing pressure on the island. The Biden administration has a number of grievances about China's actions, with Taiwan at the top of the list, according to legislative statutes, presidential and administrative policy declarations. China has reacted angrily to such US initiatives, claiming that Taiwan is crucial to its interests and that the US is meddling in China's domestic affairs. Other nations in the area have begun to show more support for Taiwan. Japan has been cooperating more closely and making more forceful declarations. Thank you all for watching. Leave your opinions in the comments below and don't forget to like the video. I hope to see you all again.